Hey everyone, Aaron Von Lupton here again with another episode of Listen to My Nightmare. And this time we have none other than horror journalist Justin Beahm. If you are not familiar with his name for some reason, Justin has been doing all those special features and documentaries that you find on DVDs from companies like Paramount and Shout Factory and Arrow Video and you name it. Pick up any one of those DVDs and check out the special features, whether it's The Orphan or Darkman or even Natural Born Killers or something like that. But that is Justin Beahm, the journalist. And today we are talking about Justin Beahm, the musician, because he actually just put out his first solo album. It is called Phantom Lightkeeper. And it's a bit of a surf album, spooky surf music. So, Justin, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining me here today.
Oh, Aaron, it means the world. Thank you so much. I mean, I've been a RUE MORGUE reader for so many years. I've gotten in the pages a couple times, but nowhere near as much as I'd like to because it's hallowed ground. And I really
Oh,
cannot tell you how much I appreciate you tapping my shoulder for this. Thank you.
great. Thanks a lot, man. Let's just talk a little bit about because no one really knows about you as a musician. What is your background a little bit? Have you played in bands before? What type of music have you been playing? What instruments?
Yeah, I've been involved with music since I was little. My grandmother was an organist at her church and a real, I mean, she was so well traveled in the area in terms of playing weddings and all kinds of events and things, as was my uncle from the other side of my family, who was the accordion polka king of Wisconsin,
Wow.
Rudy Strasser, and he had a solo outfit. He also played with these Oktoberfest singers too. So I got to see and learn about packing up gear and hustling and loading it into the car and selling his tapes at shows and things like that. So from an early age, I was kind of indoctrinated into the world of music and performance. I treasured memories of sitting on the bench with my grandmother in front of her organ as I was tapping along, and she was trying her best to get me to pay attention, which was a futile effort. But it was a lot of fun, and it taught me a lot of early lessons. And then I started playing drums and percussion when I was old enough in school and was in the drum and bugle corps for a couple years. And that's where you travel during the summer, and it's kind of like competitive marching band, I guess you could say, where it's a little bit different instrumentation than a normal band, but you're being scored every day in these different competitions and you do parades. And I was pretty little. I was 13 when I started with that, and I could only do cymbals because I couldn't really carry anything else. And that was a huge turning point for me was being in drum corps. And it was during that time that one of the guys in corps introduced me to the band The Doors. And I had been a huge fan of Elvis and Buddy Holly and a lot of early rock and roll until that point. But hearing The Doors really was transformative for me.
So then, what led to this particular album in this particular style? Because this is like what I call like spooky surf, but this is a little different. You've added in a lot of other sort of elements to the music, almost like a bit of a. I keep feeling like it's a bit of a stoner doom kind of atmosphere to it. There's a bit of that kind
Totally.
of like doomy rock atmosphere to it. So it's not really like fun surf. It's a bit more like spooky ethereal surf, shall we say?
No, I love that description. And yeah, you hit it spot on. I mean, the Melvins are one of my all-time favorite bands. And when I was first playing around with recording this stuff and I would send it to a few friends, just a couple, they would say like, "What is this? What do you describe this as?" And I'd like, "I don't know." Very much like Stephen King says with his writing, where he says he follows his characters. He doesn't have an outline. He doesn't map anything out. He just goes where they lead him. And that is 100% my process with this whole thing, was just learning and then following the music where it was kind of leading me. And because it's just me, I had the benefit of whatever impulse landed, I just roll with, which was the most incredible creative freedom. And I was so driven to do it that it was every night after I was done with my film work for the day or writing or whatever, I'd start plugging away at this stuff. And it really was an obsession uh, to just keep moving through it. And I had no plans to make an album, but it just kept building on itself. And eventually I'm like, oh man, I think, okay, maybe I can do something with this. And that's how we are where we are. But to your point about the spookiness and all of that, I think it's really because it's just me again. Uh, I'm surrounded by art of and photography of friends of mine and their films, and I always have something on in the background here. And I'm a huge fan of old silent movies. I'm
Yep.
a real fan of instrumental music and even like Chris Alexander, who you know.
Yeah.
His movies essentially without dialogue. I mean, I just love that stuff. I love putting on like a genre-long film and it's almost like soundtrack to me with these beautiful visuals playing out over the top. That's the stuff I want. As I've gotten older, I want less words in everything. And I want more music, more visuals. That is 100% my world. And so this album is just me pouring my world into it in the sense of cinematic soundscapes and sounds like I described it once, sounds of isolation and
Yeah.
putting myself in the mindset of someone who is in like the whole concept of the name Phantom Lightkeeper is these people who would work in lighthouses have always fascinated me because they'd be sent out on this impossible mission where they had to kind of exist by themselves for up to a year or more at a time, reliant on others to drop off supplies once in a while, but it's just them and the elements and this space and this light, and they're serving a purpose to help these people. But the rest of the time, a lot of them became writers, a lot of them became musicians. They would learn something to have something to do. But that crushing isolation has always really fascinated me. And so that was, if there's any kind of concept behind this, it's the general headspace of someone who's isolated like that,
Right.
just sort of being an observer of the environment around them on the shore, in the water, whatever's around them. And it just was this insanely fertile ground for me to start playing around and lighting fires.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap this up now, but I do want to give people one last look at the album. That's Phantom Lightkeeper, and it comes on what is this? Spooky white vinyl, bone white
Yeah,
vinyl.
I say ghost white, but yeah,
That's
yeah.
white.
And pressed by Waxwork Records, who were just amazing to deal with on this. They were absolutely incredible. And I love the whole process with them. I can't say
Yeah.
enough good things. I mean, I know people know and love Waxwork, and so, but I'm definitely in that chorus. I've been a fan for a long time, and to get to have those boxes sitting in the room with me right now that have the Waxwork logo on them, it's like, oh my gosh, pinch me. This is
Um,
crazy. This is
I
insane. Waxwork did the pressing, but they're not selling it. So the
okay,
only
okay,
place to get it, unless your local store picked one up, which only a few have, would be my website, which is justinbeahm.com. And I'm hand packing them, shipping them, and doing it all myself. So it's all part of
okay.
the hustle, but I'm happy to. It's nice for it to be so personal from A to Z, as we
Yeah,
were talking about earlier. It makes sense for that to be the way it's happening.
that's great. Okay, well, until next time, I am Aaron Von Lupton from RUE MORGUE. This is Justin Beahm, and this has been Listen to My Nightmare, and hope you tune in next time. I think you're going to like it.